What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. I always was questioning my sanity in Crucible until I came out with this build and truly decided that I am insane and wanted to show y'all how annoying and wonderful this Swarmer Threadling Tangle build is for our Strand Warlock, just causing absolute mayhem inside of the Crucible. Felt super good inside of that Iron Banner that we had in the last week. Also took it into some comp trials, just turned into some messages from people, so we will get right into this, showing you guys what this build is capable of. So, starting us out, we got these Swarmers. Destroying a Tangle spawns us some Threadlings. Your Threadlings unravel targets that they damage, so that doesn't matter if it's Threadlings from the Tangle or from our abilities. So we are going to be using Threadlings everywhere with this build, using some strand weapons, and like I said, becoming an absolute menace. Now, when we move on to our mods that we have here, as well as what we stacked out, resilience and discipline for this build for our Threadling grenades, we are going to be using weave walk as well, so I wanted to give us a good amount of strength. Same with resilience and intellect here, that's why they are at 50, with mobility being the least, but I wanted recovery and discipline for sure. Now, mods totally depends on the weapons that you are going to be using. For me, I was using strand weapons in my kinetic slot with shotguns in my energy, so that is why I went with harmonic targeting in this, so I was able to switch on and off between the couple different options that I have for my kinetic weapon. Now, I was using an arc shotgun for most of the time. I could switch this out for solar as well, was the other shotgun I was using. Now, we are going to be using bolstering detonation, so we get our class ability back a little bit faster when we do damage with our Threadling grenades, since when we throw down our rift, going to be able to give us some Threadlings as well, so we're kind of being able to get back both of those as quick as possible, on top of the recovery and discipline being at 100. Unflinching harmonic aim right here, totally, like I said, depends on the weapons that you are using. I went with strand, so I could have 3 of them here, and with the ability to have some unraveling rounds on this build, felt even better. Now we're going to have harmonic holster to load that kinetic weapons, as well as absolution recuperation. I absolutely love recuperation in the Crucible, especially when there is an orb of power. You can grab that, get a chunk of your health back, pop it right back into the fight, and get another defeat without them even knowing what happened, because they think you're still recovering, waiting for your health to come back. So recuperation is a staple inside of the Crucible, in my opinion. Absolution just gives us all of our abilities back, a little bit of energy, so helps us with the ability spam of having our grenade, rift, and our melees back very quickly. With last double bomber and reaper, so we can make some more orbs of power with getting that grenade back with our Threadling grenade even more often, because we're using it for a few different reasons. Like I said, we get the unravel on targets with those Threadlings, and we're just getting our class ability back with them, creating orbs of power, everything, so the synergy is just a chef's kiss. Now, when we move on to our weapon options, like I said, using a lot of strand weapons in our kinetic slot. So the first one I have is this lethal abundance right here, hammer forge, ricochet. I know that there are a couple other options right here, but target lock with slice has been doing some pretty good work with me, especially since you can get that sever on the targets as well. So it is a sweet little combination for this first little auto rifle. Now we do got the Quicksilver Storm as well, obviously one of the craziest weapons that we got, looking as well as its perk, giving us those little mini rockets that we can get. Plus, this thing does actually kind of shred inside of the Crucible, just like the auto rifles in general are right now, like this Rufus's Fury as well. But the other option is this 120. I absolutely love this 120 with a fluted ricochet, keep away opening shot on this thing. Absolutely slapping Guardians out. Looks like an absolute beast. Plus, with its origin trait and this nano tracer rockets, you can get a couple of defeats where that little rocket just runs after our Guardian, hits him in their back as they're running away, and you get that defeat. So it is a clutch little weapon. Now, for our energies, I got 2 shotguns for you with the duality. Gnora's Axe right here hip fire grip opening shot. It is a slug shotgun, so you're going to be going for those precision hits with that accurized rounds. Hammer forged rifling, this thing absolutely maps Guardians. Definitely my favorite in the energy slot for our slug shotguns. And then duality is kind of the same thing, gives us the option to shoot either or pellet or the slug shotgun version. Down here you can see when you aim in, you get the slug. When you shoot from the hip, it fires a spread of pellets, so it's a banger shotgun. Definitely slept on in my opinion. Love using this a lot when I'm using a kinetic that is one of these, but if I'm going with something like this, you can be anything you want depending on the weapon. Now for me, for my heavy, usually go with grenade launchers, but I have been really liking the Roar of the Bear. Tracking cluster bomb gets us some nice big explosions, plus we got that sulking wolf, which is a nice little crucible perk. When we are at low health, those guardian final blows grant us enhanced radar and remove us from the opponent, so it is a great little rocket for the crucible in my personal opinion. But those are our weapon options, so we have a plethora of things, but definitely using some strand for sure. Now, on our artifact, we're really only having two of these. First off, we got unraveling orbs, so when we pick up those orbs of power that we are creating, we're getting those strand weapons to have unraveling rounds, and then on top of that, damaging unraveling rounds has the occasion to spawn threadlings. So with this build, kind of adds a little bit of just, you know, seasoning on top, if you will, for giving us even more threadlings than we normally would have with those swarmer boots. But that is really all that we have on our artifact that help with this build. Now, when we move on to our abilities, all specs on fragments, we got our Needle Storm, of course, giving us even more threadlings when we throw that bad boy out. Now we are going to have our Healing Rift with a Burst Glide, Arcane Needle, and then, of course, our Threadling Grenade to pair with the Swarmer Boots. Now this is where we get to be a really annoying inside of the crucible with Weave Walk right here. When we are in the air, we can dodge to consume our melee energy, enter the Weave Trance. We gain a damage resistance, which you can absolutely tank so much damage. So in trials, something like that, you pop that on a point, try to hold off till your teammates get there, something like that, and it is just so crazy in my opinion. While we are in that trance, we get threadlings to perch on us, up to 5 of them, so you can get 5 by going into this, and then when we actually dispense them, we use Weaver's Call. So it casts our whiff, it gives us 3 threadlings and deploys anything that we have perched, so we're giving off 8 threadlings just right off rip with using the Weave Walk to start, and then back it up with the Rift, and then we got a grenade on top of that we can throw out, go back into Weave Walk once we get our melee back. So it is crazy the amount of threadlings that we can have on this build, plus being just an invincible cheeky warlock sometimes when you're in that trance. Now we're gonna have Thread of Isolation, landing rapid precision hits, emits that severing burst from targets, just another way to apply an extra little burst of damage on those fellow guardians that we are fighting and get some more collective defeats. With Thread of Evolution, probably the most important one of this build specifically, gives our threadlings that travel distance to go further, and they deal additional damage. So when we're dropping all of them at once, throwing out that 8 to 12 threadlings just attacking a team, they're not going to know what to do with them. And then we're going to be able to create tangles as well with this build. And on top of that, our strand weapon final blows have the option to create threadlings. So with everything we have here creating tangles, threadlings is absolutely insane. The amount of different things that we have that create threadlings on this build makes it so annoying to fight. I know that threadlings did get a little bit of nerf, but I still think that they are super OP, travel pretty far inside of the crucible. And then just with this build, you're in a healing rift, you got all these threadlings around on you, you got sever unraveling going on. It is just an absolute menace inside of the crucible. So we are going to be coming out with more of these builds for fun inside of the crucible, as well as a bunch of these builds for each of our subclass to help you guys get through that onslaught, that legendary mode, get through wave 50. It has been a grind testing out some of the builds for y'all, so we are going to be putting them out in the next week here coming up after this one. So hopefully y'all are enjoying the content. I appreciate all that support. Make sure to slap that bell if you have not. Stay up to date with the channel, helps me out a bunch. Subscribe as well if you would like, also helps out the channel. And again, I appreciate all you guys for coming back. Don't miss out on any of this content. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.